The Progressive Era was effective in bringing national reform during the period of 1900 and 1920, seen through the advancing of women's and workers' rights, economic changes, the curbing of big business, and conservation efforts. The three progressive presidents, Teddy Roosevelt, William Taft, and Woodrow Wilson, each made it part of their policy to progress society, which drove this era's progressive change.
Now here are the 10 most significant pieces of progressive legislation from this era.
Number 10 would be the Conservation Acts, which included the Newlands Act, the Desert Land Act, and the Forest Reserve Act. These conservation acts were made to convert the West into agricultural land or to save special areas of land such as Yosemite National Park into federally protected land. Progressive President Roosevelt wanted to protect American land by using it smartly, which included developing ways to use the land in different industries.
At number 9 is the Shepherd-Towner Maternity Act. This act provided federal instruction in maternal and infant health care, and this act expanded the federal government's duty to family welfare.
Number 8 would be the 18th Amendment, which instated prohibition. Prohibition, which was the goal of reformers for decades, was finally acted upon as a victory for families and for curbing alcoholism in American households.
Number 7 is the Pure Food and Drug Act and also the Meat Inspection Act. These were passed after meat companies were exposed for using horrible business practices by muckraker Upton Sinclair. These two acts were aimed at protecting the consumer by making sure they ate the best product and were not lied to.
Number 6 would be the Elkins Act as well as the Hepburn Act. These were aimed at ending railroad rebates and free passes on the railroad, which was aimed at destroying corrupt business practices of the railroad giants in the era.
Number 5 is the Adamson Act. This gave interstate commerce workers the 8-hour workday with extra overtime pay, symbolizing the better working conditions achieved by workers in this era.
Number 4 would be the Federal Reserve Act. This act redistributed federal funds into 12 reserve districts. This significant piece of banking reform allowed banks to more easily conduct business by being able to issue paper money on their own.
Number 3 is the Clayton Antitrust Act. This was meant to strengthen the Sherman Antitrust Act and was the end of all trust, symbolizing the progressive notion of small business and an equal distribution of wealth.
Number 2 would be the 19th Amendment. This achievement for women allowed them to receive voting rights and signaled the success of the progressive feminist movement and finally gave women a voice in the government.
And at number 1 is Woodrow Wilson's 14 Points Plan. This was meant to encourage allies in World War I and demoralize the enemy. The 14 points were full of progressive ideals such as adjusting colonial terms and self-determination, and this showed the progressive nature of Wilson.